That's why people die early very often, because they are prescribed things and the long-term effects are, in some cases, the death of the individual.
Pour le profit, les psychiatres prescrivent plusieurs psychotropes, les uns remédiant aux effets des autres, créant ainsi encore plus de dommages.
If you have drugs that create side effects, that gives you a ready market for more drugs to cure the side effects. It seems to me that it's a self-propagating system.
And what ends up happening is that each one of those new drugs that's added into the scenario brings on another symptom for which there's another drug, for which there's another symptom, for which there's another drug.
And it just snowballs into a vicious circle of one drug causing the need for another drug.
Sometimes people come and they're on such a cocktail of so many different drugs for so many different things.
It's rare now that I see a senior citizen that is on less than 5 or 6 drugs at one time. Some 12, 15.
One will lead to the next, and they're all toxic. This is how the game is played.
Alors que l'activité lucrative des psychiatres qui consiste à prescrire des psychotropes prend de plus en plus d'expansion au cœur de la société, les enfants sont désormais leur dernière et plus tragique victime.
Rebecca Riley, 2.5 years old, they diagnosed her with bipolar disorder and ADHD. They had her on an antipsychotic, they had her on a heart drug, they say, for ADHD, and they had her on an anti-seizure. And then one other one for side effects. 4 drugs at 2.5 years old. She can't even zip up her own pants. She's like a little rag doll. The school nurse, 2 teachers, the principal, the social worker, all said they never seen any behavior in this little 4-year-old girl that would warrant these kind of medications. And all specifically called this doctor and said, please take her off these. She died at a little over 4 years old. This little girl that didn't have a chance, and the psychiatrist just let her.
Au lieu d'être jugé et d'encourir une peine de prison, le docteur Kayoko Kifuji, psychiatre de Rebecca Riley, n'a même pas perdu sa licence. Comment se fait-il que les psychiatres s'en tirent à si bon compte? La réponse se trouve dans le concept légal connu sous le nom de normes en matière de soins.
The standard of care is based on what do other doctors do? What would a reasonable physician do in this situation? And the reality is that what most physicians do is prescribe medications.
As long as they've done their paperwork properly and documented that this child had the symptoms that led them to this conclusion, they appear to be completely protected from any kind of a lawsuit as a result.
The standard of care is what allows doctors to seriously injure or even kill a patient with total impunity.
So the standard of care now has been implemented to where you can get away with, if you're a medical doctor, psychiatrist, you can get away with murder.
Et le nombre de décès continue à augmenter. Les psychotropes tuent environ 42 000 personnes par an.
The cost to society is very real and very devastating, but the medicine they're practicing isn't real. It's a hoax.
Profit always comes before patient safety, and they take a very short-sighted view. It's all about how can we make money today, not what price are we going to pay tomorrow.
The trail of destruction that a psychiatrist leaves in his path is of no concern to that guy. It's all about money.
C'est une affaire de gros sous. La psychiatrie représente maintenant une industrie de plus de 300 milliards de dollars et ne guérit personne. Mais si les psychiatres promettent de plus en plus de nouveaux traitements, le nombre de leurs victimes, malades, blessés ou décédés, ne cesse d'augmenter. Et les gens, tout comme vous, se retrouvent sans défense et forcés de se débrouiller tout seuls.
My wife and I are blessed. We have 7 children, and we love them all. They're all our favorites. Each child we have is our favorites. And Beth was extremely special.
She was kind, generous. She had like a really sweet and caring personality.
She had this beautiful smile, like an inviting.
She could make friends with basically any stranger on the street and get a smile or a laugh out of them.
Beth was having a hard time sleeping for maybe 4, 5, or 6 weeks. And so we said, Beth, you should go to the doctor and get something to help you sleep.
He said, okay, well, I'll try to give you something to lessen your anxiety and it should help you sleep.
Within 5 minutes, a 5-minute visit, he prescribed her Paxil. When I first saw Beth right after she went on the Paxil, she was different. Like, I felt like she was drugged. And by the second or third day, she's like, I don't know, I just don't feel right. You know, I feel strange in my skin.
But after about 3 or 4 days, I remember that Beth was, at times, very different, like sullen, keeping to herself.
My mom and her were having dinner, and she said she didn't have any real emotion. Like, she kind of felt emotionally numb.
She was like a different person. Like, she just seemed like she was under the influence of something. She didn't seem like herself. She seemed like she was tripping out.
I talked to her on the phone and she told me she didn't want to be there. And I was like, why don't you be there? She's like, I just don't feel like myself. I just feel like crazy. I just don't feel right.
I truly believe that she was hallucinating maybe and going in and out of this psychotic state at this point.
It seemed like she was melting down, like emotionally. She was becoming worse every day.
I said, are you suicidal? I actually asked her. And she laughed at me. And she said, no, I would never do that. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm just gonna lay down next to her and I'll rub her head and I'll talk to her and we'll try to figure out what we're gonna do because something's not right here. And my son Matthew was right behind me going upstairs. And when I got to the top of the stairs, I saw her hanging in the hallway.
Then the police were all over the place and people were coming and going, and about 3 hours, 4 hours after my daughter died, one of my friends came over and said, you know, I was speaking to so-and-so, one of our other friends, and she said, oh, Beth must have been on Paxil. That's the only way she would kill herself.
It just wasn't her. There was nothing in her that would have done that. She was the most non-violent, like gentle. It's a violent way to die.
It had to be the drug. There was no other answer. If we knew what we knew now, Beth would be here with us today. I know that for a fact.
L'histoire tragique de Beth Winter n'est qu'une histoire parmi tant d'autres, une histoire qui se répète chaque fois que des psychotropes sont prescrits. Les psychiatres veulent vous faire croire que leurs psychotropes sont efficaces et sans danger, vu qu'ils sont experts en matière de santé mentale et pas vous. Mais de nombreux cas montrent qu'il peut s'avérer désastreux d'avoir confiance en eux.
Psychiatry is pseudoscience. It's false science. It cannot withstand rigorous review if people would just look at the evidence.
If they help anyone, it's not worth the risk to the people that are harmed by them.
They are betraying every customer they have.